Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our webinar today. My name is Stefan. I'm going to be moderating and I will be guiding you a little bit through exciting 60 minutes that we're going to go through. With me, I have our CEO at Maltego, Philipp Meyerhofer, as well as our CTO, Ben April. And the three of us will going to go through two bigger parts now. Because we have got many new and exciting things to tell you. So the first part is we would like to give you a little bit of an overview of what kind of challenges and what kind of topics we always hear from our customers in the law enforcement space in general, so that you learn something, right? So that we can share our viewpoints on how the OSINT landscape is evolving for you. And then on the second phase of the webinar, we will also going to go into a little bit more depth of our acquisitions that we have done, and we'll give you a little bit more details around that. And with all of that set up, we also have quite some exciting things to share at the end. So it makes a lot of sense for you to stay all the way to the end. And with no further ado, I would love to go into the first kind of topic, which is really just our view on the OSINT landscape. And Philipp, I think we see from our customers a lot what kind of criminal investigations they are doing right now, and how they did it in the past, and how they will do it in the future. And what are your viewpoints on that, on how criminal investigations will be changing in the next couple of years?
Yeah, thank you, Stefan, for the introduction, and really glad to be able to talk to you about these exciting news. And as you said, Stefan, obviously the landscape of investigations is ever changing, and one big component is really where the data comes from. And what we've seen is that digital evidence obviously has found its way into investigations already over the last decades, starting with laptops or computers that were seized and brought into the investigations. Now cell phones obviously are an important source as well. And in the last years, and what we believe is really a big trend for this decade is that also open source intelligence sources are more and more crucial to solve those cases. And that's really something that we want to talk about today.
Perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that with each wave that came out there, I think there were always certain challenges. So I believe specifically for computers, it was about how can we secure and retrieve data from hardware drives, from phones. It's really about, okay, how can we crack the PIN codes and how can we get into the source data there? And also in the OSINT side, which has been coming up lately and will play a bigger role, there are specific challenges. And Philipp, can you outline what challenges we see out there?
Yeah, I think it's really about fragmentation and volatility, right? So while at one point in time, one had maybe two operating systems that one had to deal with from the cell phones, the social media landscape, the dark net with a Tor network, crypto now coming up, are all entirely new, in a way, landscapes with a vast amount of data that is rapidly changing. And and we see obviously volatility of the networks in which criminals sometimes free ride on to communicate. Those can be the large ones, but they become more and more fragmented and go into niche, or new ones come up that then need to be also analyzed or included. The darknet obviously is ever changing and needs to be included as well. I think volatility, fragmentation are really big themes that are there on the data side. So now the question is how to handle that complexity with technology.
I think that's a very good point. And I think, Ben, just to go a little bit into the notion that the data that we see in these fragmented OSINT sources, can you maybe give us a little bit of more of an overview on why it is becoming more and more complex to analyze them?
Sure. Thanks, Steve. There are a number of reasons. So, right off the bat, it's just raw volume. the number of messages, the number of members of all the various social media sites is continuing to grow. If you look at video and image media, the number of posts just continues to grow and scale, and the number of people who post everything they do on a constant basis just grows and grows and grows, which means you have more data to sift through. I think the other piece that's really important here is, as you're expanding across more users, more posts, more networks, you've also got a divergence in terms of data structure. So it's going from rather structured to rather unstructured over time. It's getting more and more diverse. We're starting to see things like pulling sentiment out of the video to understand what the message was, because in the past you could do textual sentiment analysis on, say, a Facebook post, but in order to get that same context out of, say, a YouTube video, that's a different level of an exercise. So it's just continuing to get more and more diverse, more and more complex, and making life more and more interesting over here.
100%. And I think what we all need to just become aware of, and I think, Ben, you laid it out very nicely, it is that just the pure volume of just looking through, I don't know, it's like 10 YouTube videos that a person did upload that you're investigating, and maybe those YouTube videos are half an hour or an hour long, that would take you 10 hours to review that. So I think it is something which is very clear and evidence that where right now, especially social media and also the usage patterns of it is developing, it will not be feasible anymore for single investigators, no matter how good they are trained, to investigate that. I think this is just going to becoming humanly impossible. So I think, Philip, can I just ask you, how do you think these challenges will shape the investigation work? What is your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I think we already alluded to it, that the only solution can be to provide the tooling and the technology to those people who do the investigations. So it cannot be that we just scale the teams, we just don't find the people, and the volume is just too high. So it needs to go via technology. The really important thing is to give the tooling, to give the data integration environment to those teams in order to tackle those problems. I think what Maltego really has been strong and known for a long time is really those different layers. So on the one hand, really the single pane of glass to look at data from very different data sources. And those are open source intelligence data, but this is also network data from the threat feeds, and a large, more than half of our clients also include internal data in their analyses. So it's really, how can you get all these data streams in one spot and give the analysts a consistent interface to analyze this data.
Very nice, Philip. And I think you already did give us a little bit of an overview of what we believe is needed in a ever more changing OSINT landscape. We believe there needs to be this all-in-one investigation platform. Otherwise, people, especially investigators, will not be able to be upholding with these challenges. Now, we believe that there are three kind of layers that we need to have for that software. And I think, Philip, if I would like to, or if you could give us a little bit of an overview of what we believe are the right kind of layers we need to have, I think it would help a lot.
Yeah, I would almost call it kind of different steps in the investigation cycle, right? And the first one really is ongoing situations, and this is the monitoring of OSINT sources around incidents, events, etc. So that is really the first kind of part. And here, obviously, again, the vast input live coming in needs to be handled by humans. The second one, and I think this is really our kind of the turf that we are coming from, is really the analytics part. Obviously, we're really strong with our graph and link analysis tool for the expert user. We also have launched now a search tool that also helps for first preliminary analyses. And this is really how do I get to attribution? How do I solve a complex case? How do I, in a way, identify the criminal in a case? And the last step in this cycle is that you not just only want to identify that person, but you also want to bring that person to justice. And this is then really how do you get all this dispersed evidence from the different social media sites, from forums, etc., in a case that you can bring to court. And that's really the entire cycle. And where we believe this needs to be seamlessly connected so that the different teams can really use a platform to have a holistic solution.
And I think, Philip, I think you did a very good job in outlining the steps that we believe need to be done. And I would love to hear Ben's view on what is more also important on an underlying technology level. So what are the things that we believe need to be there from a technology perspective? Can you maybe give us a little bit of an insight there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, right off the bat, the security and the reliability of the tool. Can you trust where the data is coming from? Do you have diverse data in terms of, no OSINT is a broad spectrum, and in many cases, no one tool can collect all of the information you need. So can you pull it in from multiple sources and have it all in that one place? But at the end of the day, security is the important bit. Do you have control over the data you're collecting? Do you have control over where your queries are going? Do you understand, as an analyst who can see what you're looking at? That may not be super important in some business level investigations, but as you get up into law enforcement and potentially national security type questions, that becomes incredibly important. So the ability to separate those things out and make sure that you know the provenance of your data, who has visibility into it, and you get to control where your queries go, as well as the data coming back. How are you storing it? How is it kept? Who has visibility to it? That's kind of that's the first really important piece, is how do we gain that integrity of the data? Next up is kind of the compliance and transparency. Transparency ties back a little bit to all the various data sources, but you also need to understand the business conditions of those sources. And is it my own internal data? Is it external data? Knowing where that comes from and being able to talk about that in the report, and make sure that the users of this report understand what can be inferred and what can't be inferred. Compliance is the other important thing. Just about every major Western country has some form of privacy law, and making sure that your investigations are at the very least compliant with those rules, and understand the complexities of the various legal regimes is critically important. And finally, supporting a broad range of users and investigators, right? So, we've got the Maltego link analysis tool that, I've been using for going on 15 years as an investigator myself. But now, as Philip mentioned earlier, we've got, OSINT Profiler or Maltego Search, where anybody can plug in a simple search-like interface and start an OSINT investigation. That range of capability is really necessary to cover the broad spectrum of the investigators out there, and make sure that everyone is supported and is able to complete their mission.
Perfect. And then I think you already touched upon a little bit on Now, like if we take all of these kind of steps that we see in an investigation, all of those three principles, of course, we also like build this into how we are thinking about the Maltego platform and how we are like building this. And I think, Ben, as you already touched upon that, would you maybe want to give us a little bit of an overview of like each of the building blocks that we have in our platform and why we believe that this is exactly what law enforcement needs in order to be leaders in OSINT excellence?
Sure, happy to. Yeah, so we've already talked a little bit about you know, the link analysis tool, which we're starting to call Maltego Graph. This is the tool we've been using for years, loved among the investigator community. We've also got as I mentioned, the new Maltego search tool, formerly called OSINT Profiler. So this is a high-speed, easy start interface to get your investigation going. So you don't need to be a seasoned analyst to start an investigation with Maltego Search. You know, anybody can start one. And that's really kind of the important thing is you get the initial data set. Actually, I have been known, I commonly start my investigations with OSINT Profiler because it performs the same steps I would do naturally in, you know, seconds. So the fact that I can also import that right into Maltego and have a graph to start with is a great leg up. So it doesn't have to be a novice tool. It can also be, you know, an advanced user tool. But, you know, OSINT Profiler really and Maltego Search really give you the ability to kind of quickly understand the situation and start to work out where the interesting angles are. And then moving over to Maltego Graph, you get to dive in and really understand the complexities where you start combining with data from our data hub, which, you know, up over 120 data providers, and allows you to get all of this data from these diverse sources into one pane of glass where you can do your investigation. You can also include, you know, your own internal data. So if you have a data corpus that you're using for your investigations, that's easy to pull into Maltego as well. Building on that, we've got, you know, our services team, which is happy to help anyone add their data set into their Maltego platform. And additionally, we've got Academy, which is you know, great for training and upskilling analysts and users to really be experts in the Maltego universe.
Perfect, Ben, and just one question, because like I still see it on the slide, and I just quickly would like to understand how this plays a role in that. Like at the top, there's also something mentioned about Maltego cases. Can you maybe just like give a little bit of more insights there, what we think about with Maltego cases?
So Maltego cases, we're really thinking about kind of connecting all of these tools, not only the tools there on the screen, but the tools we'll talk about here in a minute, into one, you know, consistent environment where you can save data from one tool, open it in another, and you know, perform functions across the entire suite of tools. So cases is really the idea that, you know, you can save, say, a OSINT profiler search, a Maltego search in one place and open it later with Maltego Graph, and you're off to the races.
Perfect. And I think this basically gives a wrap up of how we think of the challenges that we see in the OSINT space for specifically law enforcement, what kind of like solutions we believe are needed, and also then basically what we want to do in our platform and are already offering as of today in our platform. And I think the two white spots that we have right now, it's the OSINT monitoring capability as well as the evidence part. So I would like to invite Philip to give us a little bit more overview about these white spots, because I think this is exactly why we decided to have two companies that we acquired. And I would like to start to talk about PublicSonar a little bit with regards to monitoring. And I think, Philip, if you can give us a little bit of an overview of just the company and the team. That would help us, I think.
Yeah, so Stefan, as you said, in this platform, we had those two white spaces. We obviously had our machines and where you can do updates of the graph, etc. But with those acquisitions, we really leapfrogged the development now and cover those use cases. And for both PublicSonar and Social Network Harvester, it's true that it's really a match that is coming out of the market, right? Because PublicSonar is a leader in real-time social media monitoring, already used in public safety incidents, etc. It's really well established in Europe and the UK, and is a small team based in the Netherlands. Has been working very closely with their customers over now more than 5, 6, 7 years, really on the current product. So it's a very mature product, and we're really excited to have them join our teams. There are really also new capabilities that we're getting in. So they've been working together also with law enforcement and their compliance departments on the application of AI and really how to get sentiments and the relevant information out of those social media feeds. So that's really exciting. And also what's really a big selling point often is that we really have established partnerships with API providers. So we're one of the few that also have a official partnership with Twitter. So that is also a really important theme in the entire compliance and how does this fit in EU and international privacy law.
Perfect, thank you, Philip. And I think just to give a little bit of a personal story about it and about how closely PublicSonar has been working together with their existing clients. Last week, I was at the European Police Congress in Berlin, and we did meet a couple of the existing clients of PublicSonar. And every single person of them was very, very convinced and really liked what the people over at PublicSonar are and have developed. So I think they did an amazing job. And if we can maybe go a little bit into depth of what they specifically developed, then I think everybody here in the webinar will also understand why we are so excited about that. Ben, can I give you the stage to show us a little bit about PublicSonar, please?
Certainly. All right, so in PublicSonar, really everything starts with a case. This particular example is looking at flooding, just something easy to start with. When you establish the case, you set up, your basic search terms. One of the things that PublicSonar makes, really good use of and is really powerful is the building blocks concept, which allows you to kind of prefabricate sets of terms related to locations or people or events. And you can kind of quickly populate a search based on what's going on in your environment. All right, so if you hear about maybe an earthquake or a football game, either one, you can very quickly drag those building blocks into your new case and be up and running, monitoring, collecting situational awareness, in seconds. This particular screen, we've got a search established for floods, and right away, in this case, there's some Twitter data, already showing up on the screen. The entire back end of this platform is based on, real-time streaming technology. So, as the data appears, it becomes available and shows up in the analytics, real time. No search, no delay. It's right there. Make sure I'm not missing anything. So now here we've got, building on that same flood search, we've got Northern Italy as a location specification here, and some additional filter categories. So the filters also kind of based on building blocks, but they allow you to branch off the data stream into different categories. Maybe you've got a team focused on calls for help and answering those calls for help in a an emergency situation, or maybe you've got a marketing team monitoring for hey, there's a message we need to catch. Also, in this particular dashboard, we've got the sentiment analysis module. So you're in real time, based on this stream of information, kind of collecting a sense of how people are feeling about it. In the case of a flood, I don't know that you'd expect people to be terribly positive about it, but hey, we've got some. Maybe that's the success of the reaction to it. So between the filters and the searches, you can very quickly build up, very specifically what you need to be aware of your situation. And, in the case of a response team, keep your assets where they need to be in the right place. There's a pretty broad range of analysis capabilities, including, sentiment scoring, concepts and terms, word count, timeline, things like that. This allows you to build real-time dashboards that enable your team to understand what's going on and what you need to react to. So we also have the ability to kind of sift through specifically the images or videos found in the social media content, or as well as plot them out on a map. You may have specific areas of more concern, and that would give you the ability to kind of map through those and plot it around. So really, this is all about kind of bringing real-time social media data into, again, one pane of glass where you can see everything you need to see to make quick decisions and react to the situation as it unfolds. Throw it back to you, Stefan.
Perfect. Ben, thank you very much. And I think just to highlight like how this connects to what we showed you in the beginning. So we believe it is essential that you can get access to real-time data. And because the data that you will get is so vast in volume and is very hard to analyze, you need to be able to have features such as object recognition in videos or video to text in order to analyze the words being spoken in videos. This is all things that are built in there, and that's something which will enable and empower your teams to actually analyze vast amount, like hundreds of videos within minutes, instead of watching these videos until you're done with watching all of those videos. Likely the situation is already over. So this is, I think, really what we loved about PublicSonar. And I think, Philip, can you give us a little bit of a couple of examples on what kind of events this is being used in?
Yeah, so obviously the flooding or the natural disaster is one that is used by public safety teams, but also really incidents and threat environments around shootings, terror threats, etc., is an ongoing or live use case. And then on the lighter side of things, obviously big events around fairs, concerts, and somewhat close to our hearts now with the soccer and sports events. There's a big Euro Cup coming up this summer in Germany, and we're really excited that we could, together with the PublicSonar team, really accelerate talking to the police forces of the organizing cities, and really the vast majority of those cities are now using PublicSonar to really keep those events safe. So I think it's a really broad and interesting, exciting, and also in terms of sports events, engaging breadth of use cases, and we're really proud to be able to support these.
Yeah, and as we might have also a couple of Americans in here, such as Ben, who don't really care about soccer, you can use it also, of course, for NFL games or football games or Taylor Swift concerts, or you just name it. This also all works, of course, over there. So in case you want to try that out, let us know. And I think with that, we would love to switch our focus a little bit from the monitoring side over like our core stack that we have, which is more the deep analysis side, towards our evidence side now. And here we did acquire a company. The company is called Freezing Data. The product is called Social Network Harvester. And Philip, can you please give us a little bit of an overview of the company as well, again, to understand why we did this acquisition?
Yeah, so while PublicSonar and the monitoring is really an expansion of the use cases, Social Network Harvester and the evidence and social media analysis is really deepening our core investigation use case. And there again, it's totally driven by the market. We know the team who built this since years. We know that many of our customers actually use both tools at the same time. And it just made really sense to really bring this together. It's also a small team, 10-15 people based in Germany. And I think what's really special is that it's founded about 10 years ago by 2 active police officers that really understood the challenges and then took it to them to really build a tool for them. And I think this really authentic look at what the users needs is also really shown in this product. The team has built an entirely new version over the last 2 years, which is now in the market for 1 year. Equally, Steffen, the feedback that we get for PublicSonar is the same for SNH. It's just a really established and now really tweaked tool that the end users really like. And and for us, again, that was a really important addition. We now have the chance to really follow up a Maltego graph investigation with collecting the evidence needed to bring this to court. And as we will see in a bit from Ben's demo of that or walkthrough, you can also analyze social media sites really, really deeply, right? So way more than you can do in a link analysis graph or in a textual analysis. So it's really, again, almost a browser specifically for the analysis of social media data. So really excited about this addition as well.
Perfect. And I think, Ben, as Philip already did give a little bit of an insight, why don't you show us what the guys from the police built?
Sounds good. So just to be clear, I've redacted some of the content just because it's actual social media data and I don't want anybody feeling uncomfortable in this particular case. So the key differentiator here in Social Network Harvester is the fact that it's based on crawling profiles, aka sock puppets. So unlike many other tools where you are asking the service, hey, give me information about this social media profile, in this case, Social Network Harvester is a tool that allows you to run out and collect that information based on accounts that you have created. So an important distinction here is that in cases where the content has been protected by your subject, such as, you know, only my friends can see this or only my connections can see this, traditional social media data collection platforms don't answer that problem. But in this case, you know, if you're doing, you know, obviously a legitimate undercover investigation, you can create these profiles. You can befriend your subject with your crawling profile and have access to that information. The other thing that Social Network Harvester does that's unique here is it actually collects it with a view towards being used as evidence. So it captures the raw data and it captures it in a way that you can replay, you know, exactly what was observed. The majority of the social media data sources we have available, when you make a query, it's going to give you the data that's available at the time you run the query. But in order to actually create a real case and enrich that case with real evidence, you need to be able to capture, you know, the exact information you're basing your assumptions and understandings and analysis on. So having that, you know, recorded history that you can then generate a report on is critically important. So this page here is just kind of the main dashboard, which lets you kind of dig into your particular case and see what information has been collected since you were last there. Let's move on. You also have the ability to create dashboards, giving you information about and statistics on what data you've collected, frequency, rate of change, things like that, as well as kind of what you'd think of as typical social media stats related to your collection profiles, information that shows how those profiles are connecting with and interacting with the subjects. The important thing to note here is not only can social media social network harvester use these profiles, but you as an investigator could also use these profiles at the same time. So you can carry out conversations as part of your investigation, but then configure social network harvester to pull on some cadence, collect updates, and maintain its awareness of the situation and have kind of a continuous set of information available. So what we're seeing here is the account linking page. So one of the things, as we were talking about fragmented social media data over time, many users have multiple accounts. Sometimes those multiple accounts are intending to be the same persona. Sometimes they're not. Social network harvester includes the capability to link profiles either within the same network or across different networks together based on information you may have either found within the tool or collected outside the tool about these three accounts are actually the same person, as an example. So this is a really powerful tool to kind of streamline the collection of information that you have about your particular subjects and the conversations they're having in social media. So this is the link analysis view, and I'm happy to report that we are well on the way to having the Maltego transforms necessary to do the same thing here, where you would be able to perform the same kind of analysis here, but right in your existing Maltego graphs. So already kind of drawing connections between the tools and allowing data to flow back and forth. And then here's the geo view. So giving you the ability to plot geo-referenced content or posts on a map and understand kind of how the flow of data, how the flow of that user moves over time across the, either the city, state, or planet. And then finally, because this is an evidence gathering tool at heart, there's a really powerful drag and drop report builder that has rather robust capabilities in terms of data collection and analysis. You can break down and pull in everything about a profile, or select elements about a conversation or a particular event, and gather that into a report that can be captured and shared with your partners in the legal case. I think that does it.
Perfect, Ben. Thank you so much. I think what is very evident is that this tool has been built by police officers, by law enforcement officers who were actually themselves in the shoes of the investigator and that solved their own problem. So I think everybody who's out there in the audience and who would like to, who has the kind of challenge to secure social media profiles, there have been two guys with a couple of help from the team to build this up. And I think this is exactly what you saw there. And I think both of these acquisitions are super exciting. And I just would like to understand, Ben, from a perspective for our own platform, what does it mean? What can our customers expect now, now that we have these two companies and products in our platform?
You can expect a number of things. So, one, over time, the tools are going to move closer together in terms of capabilities. So you can expect, unique features, unique selling points from each of these tools to kind of cross migrate. So, maybe soon Maltego's report builder, Maltego Graph's report builder will be, much more similar to the really powerful report builder you see in Social Network Harvester and other examples. But you'll also see, data flowing freely. We talked about cases earlier, flowing freely between the various tools. And that may be for one user, or that may be across users. So the ability for somebody to start a Maltego search investigation and then throw that over to a high-level analyst who's actually performing the social network investigation and possibly undercover operations in Social Network Harvester. So I expect to see a lot of connections develop between the tools pretty rapidly as we move forward. But I can also expect to see some of that ethos and some of that, core investigator support really developing, across the organization, kind of really taking those lessons from years on the field and mapping that into the way we approach things and making sure we're thinking about things in a robust, secure, integral way, so that everything you do in Maltego is pretty much court ready, as well as real time and situationally aware.
Perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense, Ben. And I think coming back to your core principles that you were talking about earlier, you mentioned that security and compliance are extremely important, especially for the customers that we have. Can you touch upon just a little bit on how we continue to maintain that integrity of the data as well as the privacy in our investigations with these acquisitions?
Sure. So right off the bat, Maltego has, ISO 27001 2022 certification, and that's, something we're very proud of. We take great care in making sure, our infrastructure and tools are built, very carefully around, what it means to be secure. But we're also very careful to make sure our offerings are available in a wide range of capabilities, such as, on-premise, where necessary. Social Network Harvester is very much a, customer controls the perimeter of the service. And, Maltego Graph has very similar capabilities in terms of, if data privacy is a chief concern for you, or query privacy, between our products and our services team, we can definitely build a suite of tools that answers that need specifically. From an architecture perspective, we're going to continue to design things, to be robust, secure, reliable, and compliant with everything we do going forward.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Ben. So I would love to now open up for the audience to ask their questions, because I think it has never been the case before that you have Philip and Ben together in a webinar. So you have the unique chance to now talk to the CEO as well as our CTO. You have in GoToWebinar the option to submit questions. I can see them here, and we already got a couple. So whoever of the people in the webinar has any questions, please just feel free to drop them now. I will read out a couple of them. We have still approximately 15 minutes. So people on the other side, feel free to ask. Any question is welcome. So I would like to open up. I just need to quickly read them because we got a couple of them. I think one, which I think is an interesting one, Ben, I think this is for you. Is it the analyst who bears the responsibility for strategies related to linguistic challenges and exploiting the nuances of a foreign language, or does Maltego offer any assistance?
At the moment, that's pretty much on the analyst. As much as I'd love to have a, universal translator in place, I think it's really important that, the analyst is leveraging local tools that help them make those translations and make them accurate. One of the things you see a lot in analyst translation is really the idea that the naive translation from one language to another often gives you enough of the construct, but taking it to the level where you can pick up on nuance in the language and maybe some I don't know, I want to say inside jokes, but some of the more clever phrasings and terminology is not really something automation is capable of doing at this point, and that's something we've got to track and continue to monitor.
Correct. I think like we have a couple of supports in there, like translation support of specifically DeepL on the transforms, and I think one nice example, very specific, because we were asked exactly the same question last week at the European Police Congress, and I think one of the main things is people like to utilize emojis now. So for example, for wheat, they like to use the emoji of broccoli. Now, will any technical tool know and understand that nuance? Very likely not. But are we able to search and support emojis? Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
So I think that's, so like the technical things we can do are available. But if it is not, something that is, let's say, more on the nuance side, how people speak in the lingo, the abbreviations, that's something the analysts very likely will always still be responsible for. Perfect. Then, Ben, I'm just gonna be asking this one as well. Will my VPN need to be disabled for Maltego's use?
No, not if you don't want it to be.
Okay, perfect. Then, Philip, I think maybe this is more for you. The question is, it looks like Maltego is moving from being a product to being an integrated platform where we will have a consolidated tool set in a single platform. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is obviously the big theme of our internal roadmap with the release of Maltego Search and time and space and cases coming from our internal product teams, but also our acquisitions that we just introduced. So in a way, when you think about Maltego, you always were thinking about obviously link analysis as kind of the face of the company and what the investigator really opens up. But already for many years, the data integration platform was actually a really big driver why people were using Maltego. So really integrating your own data, then thread feeds, open source intelligence, and bringing all this together in a unifying data model and really enable meaningful merges has what really made Maltego already become really a widely used investigation platform. So for us, it's really building up on this history, but obviously, yes, the additions in product really propel this forward quite a bit.
Perfect. Ben, anything to add from your side there?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I may jump back to the previous question because that was kind of a short answer. But you know, from an architectural perspective, I should say there's really nothing requiring or forbidding any particular network topology. So a VPN is really up to the user whether they want to decide where they want their endpoints to be visible from. There's also the question of organizational policy. If you are required by your organization to use a VPN at all times, then yeah, you should have your VPN on. But in terms of any of our products, it's not really specifically required to either be there or not be there. Sorry.
Perfect. And I think, Ben, if we're gonna go down the network route, we have one question which is on that. So I'll just throw this in now. Yep. And it goes around, if developed by law enforcement personnel, how well do the different modules adapt to corporate use cases, such as fraud, compliance, cybersecurity, and physical security? Question is, are the functions modifiable? And question 2 is, have the modules been tested within a demanding corporate setting?
I'd be interested to understand what the asker means in terms of demanding corporate settings. In terms of the rigidity and quality of the collectors, I think they're on par with any of the highest standard of code I've ever seen. I think the team did a great job building the tool. They may be investigators, but they're also pretty good at what they do. I think as a corporate entity, you would find that the rigor required for law enforcement work may arguably exceed your requirements in terms of accuracy and integrity, and that may mean you get no as an answer more than you might expect as a corporate user, but it's because the tool was able to perform its task and didn't find something that met its expectations. So I think it's perfectly applicable to corporate environments. I don't think there are going to be any. I have no concerns about the platforms or the code working in a corporate environment.
Maybe let me build on this actually, because obviously there's social network harvester, but especially PublicSonar and the monitoring use case is something that we already see in application now. So there are private or enterprise customers to that solution, and starting from VIP protection or executive protection to physical security around production sites and important assets of the corporation. This is already in use and can obviously be expanded even further. So especially the monitoring case translates really nicely to the security teams, which obviously use Maltego already for the network security in use case very deeply, and some we know have abused Maltego in a way also for physical security applications, and I think they will be really happy to now also have a real time monitoring solutions integrated in the same tool stack.
And I think both tools fit themselves rather well to other areas like brand protection as well.
Perfect. And with that, I'm gonna switch to another question. Philip, this one is for you. It comes from India and it's about food deliveries. Hear me out. Do you plan to include country-specific platforms in Maltego for specific customers? Example, Swiggy, which is a popular food delivery platform in India, but Maltego doesn't have such platforms, which might be easily integrated if they are in countries specific to where we are not active. I think that's something that you can likely quite nicely elaborate on.
Yeah, most certainly. So basically, we always think about 3 different buckets of data, right? So on the one hand, when we go to social network harvester and the capabilities of really collecting data themselves, the team has set up the collection modules in a way that we can actually co-develop the collection modules with you or with the customers for specific social media sites or even forums that you're specifically interested in. So they also have libraries where we can really expand the scope of the standard out-of-the-box networks that Social Network Harvester supports. So that's one bucket. The other one around PublicSonar is really about APIs that are available. If a social network or a site is providing APIs and has clear terms and conditions that we can be in partnership with, because they also want to work with responsible technology providers to ensure safety on their platforms. So if there are a way of interacting with those networks for law enforcement, then also the live or the monitoring case can be easily supported. So for us, it's really important to give the technology and advice to make data capture legal for the legislation that is in question, but we have the libraries and the technology capabilities to get anything you want into the Maltego universe.
Yep,
And
we've also got the custom services team who's dedicated on that kind of integration.
Very nice. And I think there are a couple of questions around if the products can still be purchased also standalone, which is PublicSonar and SNH. I think those are questions that we can discuss in a smaller setting. So everybody who's asking them, please feel free to reach out to us. We are happy to elaborate on that in a one-to-one call. And I think one last question from my side, because I think it's something that has come up a lot. And Ben, I know we have been discussing it internally, technology side. And I think you might which direction that question is gonna go to. Are you planning to implement AI or more advanced way to handle large amount of data?
To some degree, PublicSonar is already doing some elements of that, and we have active research programs going on related to AI and how to leverage it to both process larger scales of data, but also how to enable investigators to be more effective. So yeah, anything's on the table, but I'll say we're evaluating carefully and making sure that any solutions we come up with kind of comply with the principles we stated earlier around being secure, being robust and reliable and integral.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you so much to both of you. And I know your time is very, very valuable. Therefore, we can't answer all of the questions that are still out there. But thank you very much for everyone who gave these questions. If you have anything that's unanswered, feel free to reach out to us at support@maltego.com at any point of time, or to your, if you are a Maltego customer, to your customer success manager. We are very happy to also organize one-on-one calls in order to get everything clarified on that sense. As we still have 3 minutes, what I would like to basically highlight are a couple of next steps. So everyone who's in the call can feel free to reach out to us. And I think, Philip, if you want to, do you want to give a little bit of an overview of what we have planned for everyone that's in here?
Yeah, so I think I already alluded to some of the big streams or topics, and I just want to start out with really encouraging you to actually reach out, right? So for us, both the internal developments, but also how we best integrate those 3 successful standalone tools into this platform, and we really benefit from the interaction with you. And please, or we appreciate the effort that you put in to talk to us about your application. So I think really actionable, and again for Germans, but maybe Europeans in general, as there is public viewing of this event. If you're interested in participating also in our trial campaign around Maltego Monitor, please reach out. We have almost every German city hosting games already participating, but as I said, big public viewing events or other related activities are obviously also a great way to try out this capability. Same, a formal way and an early look and first look on our products and the interaction between you and us is our beta program. And here also registrations are open, and we're slowly rolling out one product after the other in now really active beta and working with our users to improve it. So the entire browser-based capabilities are in that program, starting with really how to view and edit graphs, how to look at data in a map and a time view. We have the cases app in there, and it's really the first look in what's coming out of our roadmap. So please sign up, and we're happy to include you in trying this out. Yeah, and finally, obviously, we had now the opportunity to chat a bit and answer some of the questions, but there are a lot of exciting and important events coming up. GPAC is coming up soon, and please take that opportunity, stop by at our booth, and yeah, really experience it firsthand. We can show it to you there live on the screen. You can ask representatives from every unit of the company now, and I think it's just a great way to connect. So this is one of the events. We have others on the website, so please look for the announcements, and really looking forward to connect with you and learning of how we can make this a really successful product and solution for you.
Perfect. Philip, thank you so much. I think Ben and you will actually be at RSA in San Francisco next week in person. I only will make it to Leipzig, which is almost as amazing as San Francisco. So I will be actually in person in Leipzig. I'm also very happy to speak to everyone in German there in case there's any German participants. So very looking forward to meet you all in person. Thank you so much for everyone to take 1 hour out of your busy schedule. We hope that you enjoyed it. We hope you have a lot more clarity on where we are going with Maltego. And we hope that you are as excited about our way forward as we are. If you want to try anything out, feel free to reach out to us at any point of time. And with that, I would like to close the webinar and thank Philip as well as Ben for their valuable time. And goodbye to everyone.
Thanks everyone for your time. Bye-bye.